Welcome back. I'm Karjan, and this is Let's Art, Operation Blinking Mirror. Um, so I've got these two up here mostly to where I accept them. So I'm gonna start working on the squirrels down here. So we'll start with, we'll just start going up the layers. Well, folder groups. Let's see. I don't even know which brush I'm using anymore. Let's see. So this is my third day of working on this. I only worked on the piece for about a half an hour the second day, and a little over an hour the first. I haven't had all that much time to do work because I keep getting distracted by other things. Art and I sort of have a love-hate relationship going on, and part of that love-hate is that it takes me a lot of effort to convince myself to actually start doing something. But usually once I start, I'm pretty good about keeping up with it. Then again, that's the way with a lot of things that people end up doing in life. Is that, starting is the hardest part of the whole gig. It's not exactly procrastination so much as it is a reluctance to it's sort of a reluctance to face potential failure, I suppose. Even though by not doing anything, it's a failure in and of itself. But it's a different type of failure. When you do that, you can look at it and say, well, if I had actually managed to do it, maybe I could have done something great. I don't really like this. This is going to get changed later, but that'll be good for now. Yeah, maybe if I'd actually attempted it, I could have done something great. Never mind the fact that you haven't done anything, so any results that you get aren't going to be very good, no matter how much you think that, because you don't have the practice. So part of my effort in doing this is that maybe if I try and give myself something like this to focus on, I will get the practice necessary to become better than where I currently am. I'm actually kind of surprised at how well that turned out. I'm sure I'll look at this later and go, oh, I despise that. But it's not looking half bad. Wait, why is my... Oh, man. Yeah, okay. Technical difficulties, we have them. Shoot. I'm going to have to end up stopping this and then restarting, because you can't see it, but the program is reacting very much slow to my will. So we'll be back shortly. Alright, let's try this again. As I was saying before, I ended up stopping the previous recording, which I've probably ended up just tacking on to the beginning of this one. Basically, my computer stopped responding quickly to pen input. So I was getting lag off of moving the pen around to the point where the pointer was about an inch behind where the tip of the pen was supposed to be hovering. This has happened to me before. I don't quite know why it happens. It's only really begun happening now that I've started trying to record. So it's probably something to do with the recording that with the recording program that I'm using. But I don't know for sure. It might be that I'm working at 16 bits per channel instead of 8. That was partially an accident on my part. I accidentally clicked it as 16. I've never worked at this level of resolution before. Well, level of information per bit. So I don't know how my computer is handling that, and whether it's that fact that's making it lag on occasion. But it seems to be in several very specific instances. If I bring my computer out of hibernation mode, it will start lagging like that. Excuse me. But it's occasionally done it a few other times. I don't entirely know why. This is all new to me because I haven't recorded something like this before on this machine. I don't work on any machine other than this for art. I have plenty of other machines. I'm far too much of a geek to not have other machines available to me, but this is the only one that has the ability for pen input. And while I do have a proper Wacom tablet, I never really got comfortable using it. I do prefer to basically have my pen in the way of my vision. It sounds very odd when I say it like that. Oh. This is Miku. Miku. Where was I? Right. Pen in the way of my vision. I guess it is a little odd now that I think about it while saying that, but there's something about having to look around the object that I'm drawing with, as opposed to staring at a screen where things are miraculously occurring on the screen. It's probably more of a result of oh, there's a proper term for it. It's the reward you feel for knowing that you have caused something. Having a Wacom tablet, to me, basically removes the ability to have that sense of reward at, you know, I caused that action. There's a disassociation in my mind between watching a cursor move on the screen while I frantically make gestures on a tablet in front of me while not looking at my hands. That is one of the things. You can't really look at your hands and what your hands are doing while playing with a external tablet. At least not the way I ended up using them. I'm probably maybe using them wrong. If it is possible to use such a thing wrong. I don't really know if that's the case. I mean, you draw with it and something appears on the screen. I don't really know how you could do something wrong with that. Because this comes down like that. Alright, let's put that under so I can see this better. Okay. So yes, I have basically my mind disassociates the results I see with a Wacom tablet from the actions that I am doing. Which makes art very difficult to do. It very much does become a sense of, well, there's this magic action that I can make that will do something, and maybe that will have a result. It really does, to me, feel like magic when I use a honest-to-God Wacom tablet. Now, granted, it's much better than using a mouse. I tried that once. It didn't work too well. I truly hate trying to work with just a mouse. And for those artists who can do some pretty spectacular things with just a mouse, with just the control of a mouse, they have my utmost respect. Because there's no way in any sort of universe that I could learn that sort of control. No matter how many mice I play with, they just do not give me the sort of control that I like. I just realized I'm giving a lot more attention to the lines in this one than the lines in the other one. Doesn't really matter, because I'm gonna go back over all of them anyway. I still don't know what to do with the arms on her. Oh. The ears need to be properly placed. This does need to be up here, like this, I think. And then this is more of a... yeah. Kind of creepy. The eye and mouth are wrong, I think. The positioning is off, and it's bothering me, I think. Oh. Yeah, it's too... the face is more turned than I would initially... than I had initially drawn, so it goes like that. And tighten up this. Make the edges a little more sharp and a little less round. I guess that's about as good as I'm going to get with my skills. It still looks wrong. I think maybe because the eye is a little big. Maybe if I make it smaller. Just a bit smaller. Here, we'll go with this one. We'll make it small. That's a little better. It's still a case of soullessly staring at me, to the point where it's a little creepy. So, arms, yes. Oh, shoot, yet again I have forgotten the flying part of Flying Squirrel. One of these days, I will actually remember that properly. So it basically goes down to about here-ish, and then sort of follows the... yeah, like that. And that goes in there like that. Oh, come on. I have this brush set really small, and I'm not zoomed in far enough to do it properly. Okay. Back to Mikamiku. Arms. Let's see. This, so the belly goes down about like that. Which places one arm more over here like this, and one arm off more like this. Slightly twisted position. Still really don't know what to do with her arms. Guess we can do a pose similar to what some of the official artwork has. Where the hand is sort of resting on the hip. And undo that. This kind of comes in like here, rests over there. And then over here, I'm not going to have her giving the V sign. But let's see. Where's Nina's arm? Nina's arm would be like that. So maybe I'll have her reaching up towards the arm. It's more of a... let's put Nina back in the picture. Up like that. Flip it around. And there's the wing. Okay. That's not too bad. This is actually going a lot faster than I thought it would. Probably because I'm finally getting the hang of drawing these stupid little adorable... They are kind of stupid little adorable things in terms of trying to draw them. Okay, Meku Meku. And yes, I'm still being bad and not labeling my layers. I tend to be a little bit too lazy about it until near the end of it. Near the end of my work. Let's see. What else can I talk about? His face needs to be smushed a little bit further in. It looks more like an otter than a squirrel. And I admit that I'm not actually using real squirrel references to do this, but they're flying squirrels who wear capes. And it's actually said in the write-up about Muku Muku that he actually names the rest of the squirrels. So, I'd like to know what real-life squirrel... Yeah, I'm getting a little sloppy with the tail. What real-life squirrel is capable of naming others? Well... you know, naming such that other humans can use the names. This... it's a bit too stiff. It really is. Let's change that. So he's kind of standing here on this. So let's put his foot up here. And his second over here. getting a little better at doing this quickly. Let's see. Yeah, that looks a little more... looks a little better. His face needs to be... His head is huge. His face needs to be a little bit refined. We'll work on that later. So, arms. Meku's arms. This... I guess one of his paws can just hang, sort of like the rest of them. This is a problem I have in real life too, just never... Yes, I'm aware. Just never knowing what to do with my hands or arms. Just having them be awkwardly hanging there as I try to be polite. Just never know what to do with my arms. And I guess these guys have no idea what to do with their arms either, because I sure as flip don't. Follows down, sort of like that. No, that's a little too close. Comes in like that. So it's not on the actual back. That'll do. His other arm will be hidden. He'll be standing there being all cool or something, I don't know. Meku is, I think, the silent one. Well, the quieter one. Add a bit of that. Add the eye, so that it can stare soullessly at me. Something like that. Let's... Not actually that bad. I don't really like that, however. And this is what art is. A lot of erasing and redrawing. Over and over and over and over. Of course, then there's those people who just live to prove me wrong and create absolute masterpieces in pen in 20 minutes and make it look so easy. Then again, I know that they've put so much work into being able to do that. So, I used to be really jealous of artists when I was much younger. So I would always see these wonderfully beautiful pieces of artwork, and I would always be like, that's so impressive, and they make it look so easy, and I will never be that good, and therefore I hate art because Even though I kind of like doing it, I'll never be very good at it. And, you know, all of those standard, well, I'm not instantly good at it, so therefore I can never become good at it. Complaints that you hear so often. And I did that through a lot of grade school and partially into high school as well. And then I went to college after I basically stopped drawing for 6 years, 6 years on the outside. Outside of the occasional doodle on the corner of my corner and margins and backs of tests, and you know, the standard I'm bored, I'm going to doodle little dragons and symbols and other such things. So that was the only art I did for years. And then I started looking at what I was doing in terms of, you know, how the pieces were turning out and what I was doing with them and the like. And I managed to actually find some of my old pieces of art that I had stashed away as a kid. And I realized that even though I wasn't really practicing, all of that time of doodling those little creatures and the symbols, just time after time for years and years and years. And you know how often high school teachers love to assign in-class homework and do in-class tests that, you know, you have an hour, and if you finish early you can't leave because, well, you're in high school, you're not in college. All that time that I spent fiddling and doodling actually, surprisingly, improved my art significantly from the mostly boneless looking strange squiggle snakes that I used to draw and call things like dragons and griffins and phoenix and similar. And it kind of impressed me how much I had changed in that time. So I picked up art again, and I started doing it more regularly. And then college got in the way, and I stopped doing it regularly, but the sentiment remains that for about 1.5 years I actually tried to do art, and I found it kind of pleasing. And I started looking at people, and I started people watching, and I don't do that much anymore because I don't get out of the house much anymore. And I generally found that if I actually make a concerted effort to increase my skill, lo and behold, it actually increases. What a surprise. you know, put forth effort into something and you can get a reward. That's a real surprise, isn't it? Sarcasm aside, the only real reason I stopped drawing as much as I did was because, well, college happened. I feel it's kind of important to say that I have never formally had a true lesson in art in my life. I mean, I've read books, and I've looked in on some of my friends' classes, occasionally, rarely. I've gotten advice from people who have gone through classes, and I do tend to keep it in mind when I'm working. But I've never formally had lessons. About like that. So I've never formally had lessons, and instead what I went to college for was computer programming. You know, I'm one of those people who really enjoys computers, and I really enjoy programming computers. And I've had some people say, oh, well, how can you be an artist or a writer or whatever variant of artistic creation I have shown them and be a programmer at the same time? Well, it's quite simple. I get the same rush off of completing a piece of art that I get off of completing a program. I don't really like that. To me, they're both creative pursuits. And I like creative pursuits. I actually like that quite a lot. My family in general is made up of creative pursuits in their own way. You know, my mother's family is... Oops, wrong color. My mother's family is made up of a lot of different artistic types. One of my aunts does actual real media painting. One of my aunts does... Yeah, I don't really like this. One of my aunts does a lot of creative quilting. She makes some really beautiful things. My mother's mother does some very beautiful quilts as well. My own mother, when I was young, raised sheep and dyed the wool. She raised sheep. She sheared them. She dyed the wool. She spun it. She knitted sweaters and did felt things, and I will be absolutely honest and say right off the bat that I had one of the coolest mothers to bring in for parent show and tell in second grade, because we got to play with soap and wool, and we got to make felt in class. And my mother brought a sheep to school, and it decided to run away, and people ended up chasing it all over town, you know, the little tiny town that it was. So great fun was had by all in that. At least I thought so. And then on my father's side, I don't really know about my father's father. He died before I knew him. He was a chemical engineer from what I recall, or something to that effect. But my father's mother was a real media artist and a bit of a quilter, and she ended up sewing a lot of stuffed animals when she was older, and she would go and take them out and sell them at craft shows and stuff. So there was some fun in that. So really, there's creativity and the like on both sides of my family, and there is encouragement for creativity on both sides. Which is probably what helps the most, is to have that encouragement. Okay, the squirrels are mostly done. I mean, I'm gonna need to add in their capes and the like, and add some details in, because their paws are actually little hands. That's gonna be fun. But otherwise, they're mostly done, so I'm going to cut this video here, and we'll continue in the next one. See you later.